When she walks away, every instinct screams at you to chase, text her, call her, fight for her. The world has trained you to believe that's what real men do. But here's the truth, nobody tells you. The most powerful move a high-value man makes after a breakup is complete silence. Not because he doesn't care, not because he's playing games, but because he understands something that will completely shift how you see breakups, self-respect, and your own value as a man. Stay with me. This will change everything. Section 1. The narrative setup. The echo chamber of pain. Let me tell you about Alex. The name changes, but the story is universal. For him, it ended on a Tuesday. The conversation was short. Her words were sharp. The decision was final. Then came that sound. The front door clicking shut. A sound so quiet yet so deafening, it seemed to crack the very air in the room. In that moment, his world collapses to the size of that silence. Immediately, his mind becomes a courtroom where he's both prosecutor and defendant. He replays every word she said on a loop that won't stop. He dissects her tone, her facial expressions, hunting for the clue he missed, the exact moment it all went wrong. Was it that argument last month? Should I have said I love you more? This isn't just emotional pain, it's a physical gut punch. Psychologically, it's a dopamine crash. His brain, so used to the chemical high of her affection, her validation, her presence, is now in a state of sudden, brutal withdrawal. Studies show that breakup pain activates the same neural pathways as physical injury. This is real suffering. But here's where it gets dangerous. This pain feels like an attack on his identity as a man. For many men, their sense of self is deeply tied to being chosen, being a partner, a provider, the one she wanted. When that gets ripped away, it feels like a public announcement that he's replaceable, that he wasn't enough. The shame is suffocating, and under that crushing weight, the primal urge takes over, the need to chase. His thumbs hover over his phone, typing and deleting messages. Can we please talk? I miss you. I'll change. Each unsent text is a war fought and lost in his own head. The world reinforces this impulse. His friends say, dude, don't let her go that easily. Fight for her. Rom-coms have programmed him to believe that grand gestures and desperate pursuit are proof of love. Every song on the radio tells him to chase, to beg, to prove himself worthy. He's staring into a void, and every trained instinct is screaming at him to jump, to pursue, to plead, to win her back at any cost. He believes, in this moment of weakness, that getting her back is the only way to fix his shattered self-worth. But here's what he doesn't see yet. The chase isn't his path to redemption. It's a deeper dive into losing the one person he absolutely cannot afford to lose himself. Section 2. The turning point. The first dawn of clarity. So Alex stands at a crossroads every man in his position eventually finds. One path is familiar, the road of pursuit, paved with desperate texts, late-night calls, and grand but empty gestures. It offers the chance to get back what he lost. The other path, an unmarked trail into a silent forest. It promises nothing but the terrifying uncertainty of his own company. But then something shifts. It's not a lightning bolt from the sky, just a quiet moment of clarity that cuts through the noise. This is the turning point. This is where a man of value walks a different path. He realizes the chase is a fool's errand, not because of pride or bitterness, but because he stumbles upon 3 game-changing truths. Revelation 1, self-respect is the throne. The first revelation hits him like cold water. Chasing someone who has chosen to leave is an act of self-abandonment. Think about what begging communicates. To beg for a place in someone's life is to tell them, and more critically, to tell himself, that their presence is more valuable than his own peace. It's handing them the crown to his emotional kingdom and saying, you rule here, you decide my worth. A man with genuine self-respect sees things differently. His value isn't given by a woman's approval or taken away by her absence. His value is built in. It's the throne of his inner world, his core values, his boundaries, his non-negotiables. Chasing someone who dismissed you is like abandoning your own throne, running out of the castle, and begging the person who left to please come back and sit on it. It's giving up your power. Here's what most men don't understand. Real attraction is born from wholeness, not neediness. By choosing not to chase, he isn't playing a game or being cold. He's making the ultimate statement of self-ownership. He's staying on his throne. He's silently declaring that while he wanted her in his kingdom, he doesn't need her to rule it. This is the foundation everything else is built on. Revelation 2, the kingdom in silence. The second truth is strategic. Alex realizes his energy is a finite, precious resource. For weeks he's been pouring it into a past he can't change, re-examining every crack in a foundation that's already crumbled. He's been watering a dead plant. Now he sees it for the colossal waste it is. His silence isn't passive waiting. It's a strategic decision to reinvest his energy. It's the first act of rebuilding. It's a gift to himself. This is where he starts thinking about his kingdom. He realizes the relationship wasn't the kingdom itself, it was just one wing of the castle. The real kingdom has always been him, his mind, his body, his purpose, his mission in life. When she left, she didn't burn his kingdom down, she just vacated a wing. So his silence becomes a construction site. It's the quiet hum of a man at work. Every moment he's not texting her, he's reading a book that expands his mind. Every hour he's not replaying old memories, he's in the gym, turning emotional pain into physical strength. Every day he's not obsessing, he's building his business, his skills, his future. He realizes his mission isn't to get a queen back, his mission is to build a kingdom, a king would be proud of. Revelation 3, the finality of a quiet goodbye. The third insight is perhaps the most powerful. The quiet goodbye isn't weakness or cowardice, it's the ultimate sign of strength. Think about it. Angry voicemails, desperate texts, tearful confrontations, they're all forms of engagement. They're emotionally charged negotiations that scream, "This isn't over. You still have power over me." They leave the door cracked open for more drama, more pain, more back and forth that goes nowhere. Silence, on the other hand, is a clean break. It's a closed door. It's not a manipulation tactic to make her miss him, though that might happen. It's a statement of acceptance. It respects her decision, even if he hates it. It says that his peace is more important than getting closure from her. He learns that true closure isn't something she gives you. It's something you build for yourself by accepting what is. This quiet withdrawal means the chapter is over. It honors what was by refusing to give it a desperate, ugly ending. It's a powerful message that says, I valued you, and I value myself enough to walk away with dignity when I'm no longer wanted. If this is resonating with you, if you've been through this fire, or you're in it right now, hit that subscribe button and join a community of men who choose to build, not beg. You're not alone on this path, brother. We're in this together. Section 3. The psychology behind the powered DAO. Now let's talk about why this works on a deeper psychological level. Because understanding the science makes the strategy unshakable. When you chase, you trigger something called reactance theory. It's a psychological principle that says when people feel their freedom is threatened, they instinctively pull away harder. Your pursuit, no matter how well-intentioned, becomes pressure, and pressure creates resistance. But silence does the opposite. It creates space and curiosity. Here's what happens in her mind when you go silent. At first she might feel relief. Good, he's finally leaving me alone. But then something unexpected happens. The human brain is wired to seek closure. When you don't give her the predictable reaction, the begging, the anger, the drama, her brain starts working overtime. Why isn't he reaching out? Is he okay? Has he moved on already? Did I make a mistake? This isn't about manipulation, it's about understanding human nature. We value what we can't easily have. We wonder about what we can't easily understand. Your silence becomes a mirror that forces her to confront her own decision without your emotional interference. But here's the critical part. This only works if your silence is genuine. If you're going silent as a tactic while secretly hoping she'll come back, you're still in the chase. You're just using a different strategy. Real power comes when your silence is about you, not about her. There's also the concept of intermittent reinforcement, one of the most powerful psychological drivers of human behavior. When you were together, you provided consistent emotional validation. Now that's gone. The sudden absence of that reinforcement creates a psychological void that her brain will try to fill. But again, and I can't stress this enough, this isn't about getting her back. This is about understanding that your silence naturally shifts the power dynamic because it demonstrates something rare and attractive. A man who values himself enough to walk away. From an evolutionary psychology perspective, this behavior signals high mate value. A man who can walk away without desperation is a man with options, with self-respect, with abundance. These are traits that trigger attraction at a primal level. The irony, the moment you truly stop caring about whether she comes back, the moment your silence becomes about building your own life rather than affecting hers, that's when you become most attractive, not just to her but to everyone around you. This is the paradox of power. You gain it the moment you stop trying to use it. Section 4. The rebuilding montage. Forging a new crown. Having decided to turn inward, Alex begins the slow, deliberate work of rebuilding. This isn't a movie montage with an uplifting soundtrack. It's a gritty, day-by-day process of turning pain into power. It starts with the physical kingdom, his body. He'd let it slide during the relationship. Now he returns to the gym, not for a revenge body to post on Instagram, but as a daily practice of discipline. The clank of iron becomes his meditation. The burn in his muscles is a clean, honest pain, a welcome change from the chaos in his head. He dials in his nutrition, fueling his body like the high-performance machine it is. With every mile he runs, he creates physical distance between the man he is now and the man he was. This isn't for her to see, this is for him to feel. Next, he turns to the intellectual kingdom, his mind. The obsessive thoughts about the breakup had turned his mind into a prison. Now he decides to become its architect. He kills the mindless scrolling that only numbed the pain. Instead, he picks up books he always meant to read. Philosophy, psychology, business strategy. He learns a new skill for his career, takes an online course, starts that side project he'd been putting off. This is him rebuilding his sense of purpose. He remembers he isn't just someone's ex-boyfriend. He's an engineer, an entrepreneur, an artist, a leader. He's a man with a mission. By focusing his mental energy on his purpose, he starves the obsession. He finds that a mind busy with purpose has no room for pity. Finally, he tends to the spiritual kingdom, his soul. This is the most crucial part. He reconnects with real friends, not the ones who give empty cliches, but the brothers who sit with him in the quiet and remind him who he is. The ones who've seen him at his worst and still believe in his best. He spends time alone, but it's different now. It's not loneliness, it's intentional solitude. He takes long walks, feeling the ground under his feet, present in his own body. He journals, he meditates, he sits with the sadness without running from it. He takes ownership of his mistakes in the relationship, not with shame but with a quiet promise to be better. He forgives himself for not being perfect. He forgives her for leaving, and through this process he discovers a profound truth that changes everything. He is enough, just as he is. His worth isn't a stock that crashes when someone sells. It's stable, it's inherent. It was always there. He's forging a new crown, not of gold, but of discipline, purpose, and unshakable self-respect. And a man who forges his own crown will never again beg for one. Section 5. The inevitable test. The ghost at the gate. Months pass. The seasons change, and so does Alex. His kingdom is no longer a construction site. It's a thriving, fortified fortress. His mind is sharp. His body is strong. His purpose is crystal clear. He's not just surviving, he's flourishing. And then, because it almost always happens, the test arrives. It's a simple text that lights up his phone late one night. "Hey, was just thinking about you. How have you been?" For a split second, a ghost of the old Alex flickers. A jolt of adrenaline, a faint echo of the old pain mixed with hope. The man he used to be would have seen this as a victory. He would have felt a rush of validation, thinking his silence had worked. His heart would have pounded at the chance to get it all back. But the new Alex, the king of this rebuilt kingdom, feels something different, a calm, centered quiet. He looks at the message not as a lifeline to his past, but as an artifact from a museum he no longer visits. He sees it clearly for what it is, a feeler sent out of curiosity, boredom, loneliness, or maybe even genuine nostalgia. Her reasons don't really matter anymore. This is the twist. The real reason the rebuilt man doesn't go back. It's not about revenge or proving a point. It's simply about alignment. The man he is today is no longer compatible with the relationship that broke him. He has leveled up his standards. He's built his life on a new operating system of self-respect, boundaries, and purpose. To go back would be like trying to run cutting-edge software on a computer from 1998. It just won't work. He knows that returning means compromising the very foundation he so carefully built. It means tearing down the walls to let in the exact person who forced him to build them in the first place. It means abandoning the throne he reclaimed. More importantly, he recognizes something crucial. The version of him she's reaching out to doesn't exist anymore. She's texting a ghost. The man who would have dropped everything to respond, who would have seen this as a second chance, who would have compromised his peace for her presence, that man died the day she walked out. The man who exists now, he's someone entirely different, someone stronger, someone whole. He might reply with a polite, brief, "Hope you're doing well," or he might not reply at all. The choice is his, made from power, not need. But either way, the gate to his kingdom stays closed. He has learned the most valuable lesson a man can learn. A king who builds his own castle doesn't go back to live in someone else's ruins. Conclusion: the king and his kingdom. In the end, the story of the man who doesn't return isn't a tragedy, it's a story of quiet victory. He chooses not to go back, not because he's incapable of feeling, but because he's learned to prioritize the one feeling that holds everything else up: self-respect. He has discovered that real power isn't in changing someone's mind. Real power is the unshakable control over your own response, your own world, your own destiny. His focus is internal. His mission is his own. The breakup, which once felt like the end of the world, became the catalyst for creating a new one, built entirely on his own terms. This journey isn't just about moving on, it's about moving up. It's an upgrade. The breakup wasn't just something he survived, it was the raw material he used to architect his own evolution. He didn't just heal the wound, he used the scar tissue to become stronger than he ever was before. He learned that the void she left wasn't a hole to be filled, it was an empty plot of land where he could build a skyscraper. So when you see a man walk away in silence without the drama, without the desperate pursuit, without the public displays of pain, don't mistake his quiet for not caring. You're watching a man choose himself. He's choosing the future over the past, purpose over pity, growth over grief, the integrity of his own kingdom over the memory of a shared one that no longer exists. He doesn't look back, not because he's forgotten where he came from, but because he is completely, utterly focused on where he is going, and where he is going is a place of his own design. This is the path of the high-value man, not because he's cold or unfeeling, but because he understands that the greatest love story he'll ever write isn't with someone else, it's with himself. And that story doesn't have room for begging, chasing, or compromising the throne he fought so hard to reclaim. The kingdom stands, the king remains, and the gate stays closed. Every man has a rebuilding story. What was the first stone you laid for your new kingdom? Was it a trip to the gym? A book you finally read? The decision to delete her number? Or just the simple choice to put yourself first for once? Share your story in the comments below. Your breakthrough could be the blueprint for another man's first step. And if you want the complete roadmap for rebuilding yourself after a breakup, check out the video I'm linking in the description. It's the perfect next step. Remember, you don't chase, you build, and you never ever abandon your throne. I'll see you in the next one. Stay strong, King.